Hello, and welcome to this history podcast on Germany. In this podcast on German history, I will be joined by my history teacher from De La Salle High School in Downpatrick, Mr. Joe McStay, who has kindly taken the time out to talk with me about how Otto Van Bismark, aka the Iron Chancellor, unified the Germanic states with blood and iron to form the Kingdom of Germany that we know today. So, without any further delay, let's delve into how Bismarck unified the Germanic states with blood and iron. Hi, thank you. You're very welcome to this podcast, Mr. McStay, and you're my history teacher from De La Salle High School. Yeah, so you actually taught me a wee bit about Germany and Russia, didn't you?
Yeah, that was a long time ago, though.
Not too long ago. The years been good to you.
Well, I'm retired now, so I just get on and do a bit of gardening, bit of golf, and but I keep looking and seeing what's happening in the world.
Yeah, and that's why.
And especially the current times with what's happening with Ukraine, Russia and the Ukraine.
Yeah, and I've been watching there's a journalist who done a VT, and on his VT was one side showed images of Hitler and the other side showed images of Putin, really thinking this is dangerous territory, but we're not going to get into that there in this topic, so we're going to go further back really, and we're not going to be talking about Hitler, so we're going to be talking about the Kingdom of Germany, so see from your now, what do you associate Germany with? So,
well, I always associated Germany with excellent soccer teams, but being a history teacher, I know the problems that they've caused the world. Being with 2 world wars, and being probably the modern, up to date. They see themselves as the leader of the European Union, and so I've always sort of paid attention to what's happening there, and I suppose it goes back to, I can remember stories my father told me of him when he joined the Royal Marines.
What was that there? Because see, before we done the record, you did mention me about that there. What did your father say?
Yes, when my father in 1939 he joined the Royal Marines, as there was a big campaign to get people in Ireland, both north and south, to join up, and he was told that Hitler was going to invade a Catholic country, Belgium, so he applied and got into the Royal Marines, and ended up being a captain.
Brilliant.
A captain in the ship HMS Nelson, and the Nelson, along with the Prince of Wales, and chased after the famous Bismarck battleship, which was Hitler's pride and joy.
Yeah, well, I'll say, this is going to turn me, this will be like, who do you think you are really in this episode? And as you mentioned, the Bismarck, we're going to do a wee bit of talking about Bismarck, really, because as you say, Germany's at the centre of the continent, and it's been at the centre of human current affairs for 150 years. So is, and like you said, you talked about First and Second World Wars and Hitler, which are very significant importance and should not be forgotten about. And even in the current days, where people should learn about what happened during those times, right, and try and learn from their mistakes, if you know what I mean. But actual Germany, it only exists because of one man, and the man we're going to be talking about is Otto Van Bismarck. So this is going to be a bit of time travel, really. So we're going to go back to 1815, really, the very start.
Yes,
where Otto Van Bismarck was born. So he was.
He was born. Yeah, his parents. Dad was a wealthy landowner.
A Junker, I thought he was a Junker, really. Other sources I thought he was a Junker.
And mother was a politician.
Yeah. She was a minor and aristocrat, so she was. So
she always wanted him to go into politics, but he went to university, and
he trained to be a lawyer, so he did.
he trained to be a lawyer.
Yep. And also, like, from other like sources, it also like his mother sent him to the capital in Berlin, so she did, and his mother was kind of like headstrong, and that put him off really women for a time, really. But not completely, because he ended up getting married, really.
Yes, and had 3 children.
Don't know. Yeah, well, I had kids. I had 3.
I think I had 2 girls and a boy, and yes, he was a fascinating character. You know that he was called the Iron Chancellor.
Yes, yeah, and like it's very important, because I remember like that name. I always thought the Iron Chancellor was someone in England. So
yes,
the Iron Chancellor means is referred to Otto Van Bismarck. So he was born. So like I said, he was born in 1815, really, and he was born 3 months after the Emperor Napoleon was defeated at
Waterloo. Yeah,
and before like he was like and like see when Emperor Napoleon was smashing his way through Central Europe and was almost out to Russia, that after his defeat, that left a void in the centre of the continent, really, because at the time there was no such thing as modern day Germany. It was the Holy Roman Empire.
that's right. Yeah,
That was the very first Reich. Because say when you were doing the history, really, back in the all those years ago, we always knew that like Germany and Hitler was that there was the Third Reich, so it was, but we don't do any detail. What was the second, and what was the first Reich?
one.
So the first one was the Holy Roman Empire
In 1871. Yeah.
But we're going to be learning about how the Second Reich was formed, really, and it's very, very interesting. So it's how it was formed, and so Bismarck went. He's trained as a lawyer, and he was very, like you say, he was very conservative, really. And he loved God, and he loved his king, so he does.
He was a royalist, and he believed in the divine right of the king and families taking the crown after them. So, but a conservative.
Yeah.
And he at the start he disliked the liberal trends of the socialists, and he knew that Europe, with all the revolutions.
Yeah, and like he actually wanted to preserve Prussian sovereignty, because there was always talk. When he went back to Prussia to his like estate, he became a Bible thumping evangelical.
Yes.
And he was about to like march on Berlin to preserve Prussian sovereignty. And I think because there was always talk during the 19th century about countries having their own independence, and there was this here talk about why is there 39 Germanic states in the German Confederation instead of one united Germany. And I think the year that actually probably gave us some influence was the year 1848. From doing my own research, really, I don't know if you've done it, but like 1848 in the 19th century. Yeah, I'm always getting confused. It's actually the big red volume titled "Whoa." It's like it was known as the year of
revolution. It was indeed.
Yeah, and it was the year of the. It was also known as It was also known as the People's Revolution and the springtime of nations. So it was. And when he was Prussian Prime Minister in 1962, that is when he gave his famous blood and iron speech, really, to a hostile parliament, really. And that is when he says the events of 1848 were not to be something that was to be forgotten about, but just something that was just done wrong. It's time to unify Germany.
When he was
and iron.
He was against unification at the start.
Because he didn't want that meant turning his beloved Prussia into a kind of a support player.
Correct. He always wanted Prussia to be the main player.
Yeah.
And with 39 Germanic states, as you said, he wanted to make sure that Prussia was up there at the top. And being such a skillful diplomatic and a strong-willed man and a great orator, he was prepared to face down any opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And I when I read about him, I saw in him a lot of common with modern day politicians.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't afraid to go to the press.
Nope.
He used bribery.
Mm-hmm.
He had a slush fund.
Yeah, and he was very tactful, really, and he was the master. As he became popular, he was the master of the.
He was a master of spin.
Spin and the dark arts of politics, or something.
And as they call it today, fake news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's one event that he did get hold of. It's called the Elms Telegram, really.
Yes.
Because
a classic example of bending the rules to suit yourself.
Yeah, but that was just after the 7 Weeks War in 1861. So 18.
Yes, the Franco-Prussian War.
Yeah, see the 7 Weeks War. That's when see the 2 weeks. See, said you want to push it the main player, but see during the 7 Weeks War in
1862 was it?
No, the 7 Weeks War. The 7 Weeks War was 1866. So that was the second war, tactful war that he made to get. That was the next stage to get Germany.
Well, that would have been the struggle they had with Austria.
Yes, because and this is actually, I think this could be relevant towards us, really, because I think seeing the German Confederation, it was designed to be weak, really, because it was balanced between the two major powers, Prussia in the north and Habsburg, the Austrians in the south, really, and I think this would be relevant towards modern day in terms of Northern Ireland, because the Prussians were the Protestants and the Habsburgs were the Catholics, really.
Yes.
And you see, someone has to go, really. They're going to have, they might have some level footing, really, but eventually, if they want to do this here, one of them has to go, really.
Yeah.
And see the other Germans.
But he did it so carefully by building up a series of alliances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and see when the Prussian army see when all the other Germanic states went to supported Austria and went to war during the 7 Weeks War, really. It was decided at the Battle of Königgrätz.
Yeah.
I've said that right, really. If any of the Germans are listening, hopefully you can pronounce that right, really. That was it was said then, really, and see the Prussians wiped the floor of them. Because did you know that the Prussians had the first firearm, really, that allowed their soldiers to lie down, really, whereas the Austrians and they were still armed with muzzle loaders. They had the Prussian nail gun, so their soldiers could remain in cover, reload more easily.
Yes, but they also had one of the greatest military tacticians ever, General von Mucht.
Yeah,
who played a big part in battles in the Second World War. Mm-hmm. So he won that. He helped win that battle of Königgrätz, and he was later involved in the Franco-Prussian War, the battle.
With France.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was von Muck that wanted Prussia to get Alsace and parts of Lorraine, and Bismarck didn't want that.
Did he not want that? I thought that
he didn't want that. He wanted to keep. It's like when you beat an enemy, you don't beat them into the ground because their sons will fight back.
He also done the same thing. See Bismarck, he done the same thing with Austria. See when the Austrian army was winning. See his boss, the King of Prussia, Wilhelm I, he was very dim-witted. He thought if you win a war, you have to make territorial gains. But Bismarck fought well beyond that there, because he didn't want a march on Vienna. See when he got the offer, the Austrians gave him the offer hand that they will back off and then unify Germany without the Austrians. Really, he was prepared to accept that there, because that means, but he wanted to go giant on Austria, so that means if they ever need any help or plans for business or anything in the future.
Well, I must agree. I believe in tactics like that are successful, because you cannot wipe the opposition out completely.
No, you can't.
And it was important. Well, when they did invade France and they besieged Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Napoleon III was captured.
Yep.
And they made one mistake, I feel, there as well. They bombarded Paris. Now, Paris is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. When the world saw them bombarding Paris, they just says, "Oh, hold on a minute here."
Another led to deep rifts between the French and the Germans up until the Treaty of Versailles. Because see when they actually see during the French and Prussian War, really, there's two main carriers that were deemed to clash big time in the 19th century. It was Emperor Napoleon III and Bismarck, really. And
Bismarck being only a chancellor because Wilhelm was the leader.
Yeah, but also you can see who was the real ruler.
Oh, certainly you can.
It was Bismarck. You can see if Wilhelm the first was in charge, or the kings, because they were during the 1918 rebellion, they managed to cling on to their power basically and their monarchy, really. So they were with them, and they managed to do that there. So that
I think too at that time, Wilhelm was maybe more. He saw the scramble for Africa as being more important. Germany wanted an empire. He wanted an empire. He wanted to follow Britain's sun, place in the sun, an emperor in the sun, and he wanted more to annex more countries in Africa to be the same as Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And
because that's the same with his grandson Wilhelm II. Really, he had very ambitious plans. Really, and see during the year of 1888 when Germany was unified, really. That was 1880 was deemed as the year of the three empires. No, the three emperors, really. Wilhelm I passes on, really, and then his son Frederick, who
didn't last. God love him.
He was think about it, in 90 days, very short term in power. But then, so that means Wilhelm I was 90 when he died, and his grandson succeeded him. He was only 29. Very short. Say all the young ones, they're always, they want to do things right, but they need some training. You need to learn from maybe the older ones, really, how you do things right, so you're not just you're not going to ruin and bankrupt the whole country, really, or damage your reputation. And Bismarck was trying to groom him, really, but Wilhelm was only gave Bismarck 6 months in office, really, and I think it was in December. He gave him his marching orders.
He did. He gave him his marching orders. Wilhelm II, the young king, wanted to improve expansionism. He wanted more countries.
Another excuse, right? And because he wanted to rival Britain and France, really, and be an equal towards his because his grandmother was Emperor Victoria of England. So
that's right. Married Queen Victoria's eldest daughter.
Yeah, and Bismarck.
And he wanted Wilhelm II too wanted more of a liberal country, and he wasn't. Bismarck wasn't too keen on this idea. But when he did get sacked, he was 75 when he got sacked, and he lived in hope that he would be contacted again.
Contacted back, really, because he's seen the state of the country, really, because some people, see when Germany was unified, really, there's a big picture when Germany was unified in 1871, seeing in the famous hall mirrors in Versailles.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, and that's when, so that was the painter puts Bismarck in the centre, and there's another picture at the opening of the new Kaiser when Emperor Wilhelm II is in charge, really. The painter puts Bismarck in the centre one last time, but the rest of the party, people are against him, really. They don't want him anymore. They see him as an old man, really. No, you don't.
Well, in politics, life can be change.
It could change very quickly, right?
But it's amazing.
That's happened before, really.
It has. It's amazing too that at the end of the First World War, they had the Treaty of Versailles.
Yeah.
And that was significant for what happened to Prussia and Germany being...
In 1871, because in 1871, they unified Germany in Versailles Palace, and that was Treaty of Versailles. That was the French getting their own back, really.
Certainly.
Or the Germans, really. And we're not going to get too much about the First World War really, because Otto Van Bismarck, I've done, other people say, I heard from other of them in our source at college, who's also big into history really, which I couldn't get him for this podcast. He like said, like, Bismarck, he didn't really, he like, knew that there was going to be a world war, and he knew how fragile this new German empire was, because the Germany, it took him years to be unified. And see Wilhelm the First really, see when Germany was about to be unified after the Franco-Prussian War really, see all the southern princes really who weren't part of the North German Confederation, that was formed after the Seven Weeks War really.
Yeah.
But because of a French veto, southern Germany remains independent. And see when they were about to go to war with the with the French really, Bismarck said, okay, right, he will protect the southern states if they help him defeat France.
And they did.
So
the German states rallied at that time, and they beat the French within a year, which was amazing.
Yeah, and the Emperor Napoleon III, his control on France was losing, and he can't afford him defeat. And he made one tactical error really on the day of the battle the day before Sedan. He grants his soldiers a day of rest really, and that was a fatal mistake because it allowed the Germans to surround the French really.
Yeah.
And they're caught in that.
Oh, you've done your homework, good man.
I know.
You've done your homework.
Don't worry, I've learned from the best here, so are they.
And I was intrigued by all the jobs he had as an ambassador. Mm-hmm. He was ambassador to Russia.
Russia, yeah. That was like before he came because he done lots. But he'd see him doing military jobs, right? By ambassador.
Yes.
He sort of learned how politics worked, really.
Correct, and he knew the way forward was to make alliances. Don't fall out with people. Make alliances. And was he ambassador to Austria first stage?
He was ambassador to Austria, and what was it? He was very, and see those are three wars really, about the Franco-Prussian War, the Seven Weeks War, and the one about Denmark really.
Schleswig and Holstein.
Holstein. And the war isn't good by no means, but there were tactical wars. He was like, and the only war that he knew they had to go, that he wanted to unify North and South, was going to war with France. So he knew that was unavoidable. The other two could have been avoided really, but he knew that he wanted France, because France was seen as the major power on the continent.
But it was good too, because when he went to war with Austria, he asked Italy. He had an alliance done with Italy. Mm-hmm. So Italy and Prussia fought on two fronts, which weakened Austria. Mm-hmm. And Austria was beaten, as you said, in that lovely battle where Van Mook led. And then against Denmark, he got Austria, because Austria and the new Germany were side by side practically. They wanted to stage. Austria were told to stay out of German affairs, but if needed,
they'll come to support, and that's
come and support us.
So during the First and Second Sea, when the Archduke Bernard got assassinated, Germany backs Austria really, and the same thing if like sometimes the Germany really, if some emperor was assassinated in Germany, Austria would back Germany. So
when they had that later on, they had a thing called the Triple Alliance.
Yeah, and that was like Germany, Austria,
and Italy.
And Italy.
And Italy.
But then Italy, like halfway through, really says, "Oh, we're like losing here," and like runs to the
Allies.
The Allies, really. Yeah, I remember like Al Murray. There's famous Al Murray says like, "Oh, see, Italy, they can't decide what side to be on, really." So okay, when they're running, we'll jump. We'll jump ship, really. So yeah.
What I enjoy listening about him, being the human side of him. He was ambassador to Russia for 40 years in St. Petersburg. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, he lost his leg.
Didn't know that.
He, due to a
saw him with a crutch in the pictures.
Due to a medical.
I thought that was maybe just of old age. You've only seen someone.
No, a medical mistake.
What was that? Right.
He lost his leg due to a medical error. And so for a man who lost his leg, suffered everything that he had, he did extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
So he that there I found very interesting. Plus the fact that he was able to, even though he was an Iron Chancellor,
He wasn't really. He like sort of played ball. Really, said he was very fair. Really,
he was very fair to his people at the end of the day.
yeah.
Because he turned to social, which we all need. We all need now. He turned to social things like health insurance.
Yep, and it was like Germany was the first. He was on the. It was done far better than. It went far beyond like at the time of England and
Certainly,
France, really.
and he gave male suffragette. He gave the male men the vote.
Yep, everybody over the age of 25 was allowed to vote, so they were.
Which is great too.
Yeah, and
It's slowly turning democratic.
Democratic. Yeah.
And he gave accident insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that put a smile to my face, James, now, myself, I'm 67 now, was that he was the first to introduce old age pensions.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Old age pensions.
Yeah, so
and back in the late 1900s. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yet he still took abuse from the Liberals. Yeah. They thought he wasn't liberal enough.
No, because he did. There were see those are years after 1871 and to 1888. Those are deemed as the years of peace, really. Because after Germany was formed, like that was the years of peace, really. Now they got Germany. It's very fragile, so now it's time for ruling and for peace, really. And like we said about his welfare reforms, pension. But he did make a few minor things that some people did. He did come hard on the Catholics, really. And a few.
He did. He wanted to reduce. He wanted to reduce the power of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, which is but like I say in politics, really, you're gonna have some people they're gonna go. You're gonna have a few maybe good days and bad days. Some people are gonna like you. Some people.
Certainly.
But don't think like out of all things he's done, I think he still means is like figure. Isn't on tarnished, even though he's like not perfect by all means, but he's still come out of it good. Really.
Well, yes, that's true.
If you compare him to Hitler, really.
At the beginning of his time in control, he banned the opposition going to the press. Mm-hmm. He put a press embargo on, so he was very strict that way.
That for me because this is part of my course, really, factual journalism and television.
Yeah, and. He knew that there were certain states and nationalities in the new German Empire, and he always had a mistrust, I don't know why, against.
He did come hard on the Poles.
The Poles.
Yeah,
and to an extent he called them wolves. And what do you do with wolves? Shoot them.
I was actually, that was until my tongue ring. I thought, no, I was probably not going to shoot them, really. You wouldn't shoot the Poles, right? And like, see, you see Germany, you see when they got Germany unified, really, and they lost some territory, it's only the eastern sections, really, that actually lost, really.
Yes, that's true.
See, the other point I want to just bring up, really, is about when it was, Emperor, Wilhelm I, really, he had another kicking match, really, another. Has he fit, as you could say, really, see when he was supposed to be seen as the figurehead, really, he wanted to be seen as Emperor of Germany. And see the Southern Princes, they were like willing to give the title to them the first of he's like the main the main emperor. But like and Bismarck got good, and the title they were given was German Emperor. And other means because like Wilhelm I wanted Emperor of Germany, and that was totally different altogether, because Emperor of Germany means he's the boss of Germany, he gives the orders, whereas German Emperor means it's a collective, really, of people working together, and like and they see the German princes, they still have power of their own and independence, really, and they want to be working together, really, and that was the Second Reich. So that was the second, the Emperor's, the Reich of the Kaisers. So it was.
Well, they got on so well together too. They must have got on because on his headstone it reads, "Loyal loyal German servant of Kaiser Wilhelm I.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like a modest man just said that he was loyal to the Kaiser.
Yep, his king. And he wasn't and in the documentary I watched, really, I don't know if this is true what he says, but Emperor Wilhelm I says it wasn't easy being emperor under you.
Yes.
And Bismarck, the actor who played him, he says,
Well,
the actor who they played him says, your Majesty was more harder to convince than the French and the Austrians, and that takes some great courage. So it does great courage or something, he says.
well, he dressed in military gear, old-fashioned military gear. He'd one leg, so he obviously had a pronounced limp. And being a conservative, he liked everything the way it used to be. So kings would be a bit weary of him.
Yeah, and see if it wasn't for Otto Van Bismarck, he would. I think see their monarchy. The monarchy would have been abolished years ago, really, even before. And see, if he didn't exist, really, there may not have been maybe the First and Second World War and Hitler. Maybe Hitler. There was maybe talk about Hitler, really, but he may not have been associated as a villain, really, because all things would have changed, really. But and he knew how.
And Alsace and Lorraine was to play a part in the next two wars as well. And Hitler needed something and quite a lot of things to give off about. And Alsace and Lorraine been stolen from them.
And it wasn't stolen from them, really. It was just the other generals really wanting.
Yes,
and Bismarck
Van Mook
didn't.
wanted them, and Bismarck didn't, because he knew the importance of keeping peace. You know,
Yeah, and that's
interesting man when you get into him.
Yeah, and he's just and I don't think maybe most people would think about Otto Van Bismarck, really, because I seen me and my dad went to Germany. Me and my dad went to Germany when I was 30, really. And have you and your son been to Germany? Have you?
We have, and we've been to the battlefields of the First World War, and we enjoyed that. We've also been to Munich and the Eagles Lair, where Hitler had his mountainous retreat.
I've only saw pictures of that when we were watching that there Jack Whitehall travelling with my dad, really. I'm actually thinking, I wonder could me and my dad do something like that there, really. But where you and your father and mum should go is to Auschwitz. Well, we both have been to Auschwitz, really. I was there with mum and dad, and when I was doing youth ministry, I was there with the
Great.
We done the whole site, so we did. And no, it's slightly off topic, but see, when you were there, it's very it's very peaceful, really. And I was we were just walking, me and my friends were just walking through it, really. And I took a few pictures, really, but not a lot, really, just so it was there.
But people forget it only happened 60 years ago, maybe.
And 60 years ago, it's
nothing.
Now. It's nothing. It's like a blink of an eye,
1944.
really. Yeah.
Well, 30 years now, but
I think,
you know.
And I'm just thinking, and I see me walking through Auschwitz, I was you get a big jargon quiet, and see if you accidentally got logged in here, you wouldn't want to get locked in there. You might have a nice piece. You probably have a peaceful sleep, really, but you might get a wee bit strange, really.
Certainly. Unfortunately, there's a lot of countries that have places to hide that they're not too.
Ashamed of, really.
Yes.
And I think it doesn't matter. I feel no matter how it's kind of see that. I don't know. See if Bismarck had seen the future, really. Oh God. Hitler, the First World War, what they're going to be doing. Well, is that the cat, is it?
Ruining the podcast. Keep on going.
Don't worry. We'll just say that's Hitler in the corner, so okay. I was just thinking, what was I talking about again?
Well, we're about to wind up the discussion on Otto Van Bismarck. So there was such, if he had got his way.
If he had first thing, really, or Or
the
just
future
like,
of
I
Europe
think-
may
I
have
think
changed.
The future of Europe might have changed, and like, Hitler should have done what he done. He should have like maybe learned from Bismarck, always to tell what I knew how fragile getting the whole country back together was, right? And just okay, we've got the country back on its feet. Now it's time for peace, and that's the way that makes me want to. I think Bismarck stands out really.
Yeah.
Because
As I said to you earlier, I like the human aspect of all the story, because he, when he was forced to retire, when he was 75.
No one wants to be forced to retire,
No.
really, because not unless you're.
And it was a shock to the system. And within a year, his lady wife of so many years, she passed away as well. And he spent the rest of his years alone, just waiting for somebody to come and ask him
to come back, really,
for
or
a bit
to
of
give
help
him
or
advice.
whatever. And it never came.
I think, see, the Kaiser, Wilhelm II, he got a wee bit taste of his own medicine, really. When he had to abdicate, went to Holland, really, he was always hoping that Hitler would maybe think about reinstating the monarchy, asking for some advice, really. And he never did, really. But I don't think the Kaiser would have wanted to be associated with the Nazis, really.
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
Because they were a different political regime altogether.
Definitely, and that really gets. Well, thank you very much for this
You're welcome.
podcast, Mr. McStay. Thank you very much, really.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Look, James, I'm retired now, and I've always said to you, I'm called Joe.
Oh no, sorry. Well, like, I'm always.
My twin brother's still teaching, so
I'm always being respectful. Here, next time I'm down, I'll bring down some of that German beer. So.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, because.
And will you get me a chance to tell me where I can read,
Yeah,
or I can hear the podcast?
Once I get edited, really, well, probably won't be edited, but once I get finalised, really, and put onto, probably most likely on Spotify, so it will be.
Spotify, well,
but see what goes up, I'll send you a link and I'll let you know. Thank you very much for joining me.
I got a little book for you, just to read, and for part of your course. It's the leaders of the world.
Oh wow!
And it was
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela's everybody. Everybody who's anybody's in it. And there's a good article. That's where I read today on
Bismarck.
some of the from Bismarck. But Chief Sitting Bull's there, if you're interested in cowboys and Indians.
Yeah.
And it's an excellent book.
Is that there? Oh, Queen Boadicea there. That's the first.
Boadicea, the leader of the Celts, wasn't it? The Anglos.
The Duke of Wellington. I've always wondered about the Duke of Wellington, really, because I'm on YouTube, I type in things. That's how I learn mostly because you learn anything on YouTube these days.
Well, have a wee read through that and put a wee page in the ones that you want to read. There's too much there.
Yeah,
but you'll come across.
Well, tell you what, it's good bedtime reading. I'm sleeping whenever I can't sleep one night. I'll get it out and I'll start reading. I help me to doze off a wee bit. Is that okay?
That's fantastic.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, James. Anytime.
Wow, Bismarck did a lot in his life to bring all the Germanic states together to form Germany from 1815 to 1888. I hope you find this history podcast very interesting, and I would like to give a special thank you to Mr. McStay for taking the time out to go over this topic with me. And if someone has any suggestions on who they think I should talk about next time for my next podcast, please leave a comment in the section below. Thank you for listening.